Well, my goodness, this news will probably leave Angel Reese's mom in shambles.
Caitlin Clark's recent exhibition performance against the Brazilian national team became an unexpected cultural event, transcending the traditional limits of preseason basketball and placing her at the epicenter of a spectacle that resonated globally. What began as a routine matchup concluded with the entire Brazilian roster, including coaches, lining up not to shake hands, but to request autographs, selfies, and signed jerseys. A gesture rarely, if ever, seen in professional sports. The game ended in a 64-point blowout, yet Brazil's admiration suggested they didn't view themselves as losers. They witnessed something extraordinary, and their reactions mirrored that of lifelong fans meeting a legend for the first time. Even Clark appeared momentarily stunned by the display of reverence, pausing amid the post-game chaos to sign memorabilia with the same grace she exudes on the court. The magnitude of this moment wasn't in the scoreboard, but in the sincerity of a nation's respect. That same respect had been absent just days earlier when Angel Reese faced Brazil, where no such admiration was shown. While Reese may dominate headlines through her online presence, Clark captured international awe through performance alone, signaling a deeper shift in how greatness is defined in women's basketball. Clark's composure after the game served as a masterclass in humility. Despite Brazil treating her like a demigod, she remained grounded, acknowledging the praise without seeking it, and creating a moment that will likely be remembered as one of the most iconic displays of sportsmanship in modern basketball history. The reaction of Brazil's coaching staff added another layer to the spectacle. Their head coach, a seasoned veteran in the international basketball circuit, responded to Clark's performance not with a traditional coach's summary, but with what can only be described as spiritual reverence. He likened her game to something mythical, praising her with a depth of emotion that bypassed routine press conference banter. For a man whose country idolizes soccer, to elevate a foreign basketball player to such heights was nothing short of a career-defining endorsement. His admiration was unfiltered, raw, and honest, making it clear that Clark's influence had pierced through the usual barriers of nationality, rivalry, and ego. He wasn't merely impressed, he was overwhelmed, and his sentiments echoed a truth that's becoming increasingly difficult to deny. Caitlin Clark isn't just a great player, she's a transformative one. She shifts the gravitational pull of every court she steps on, and opponents don't just try to guard her, they end up celebrating her. The post-game atmosphere, with Brazil's national team treating her like royalty, showed that she had not just won a game, but a permanent place in their memories. For a preseason game to generate this kind of moment is almost unheard of. But that's the kind of gravitational force Clark brings to the sport. Her presence isn't just impactful, it's historic. Clark's actual performance only amplified the cultural phenomenon. In just 18 minutes on the court, she managed a plus-minus of +42, tallying 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists, all while controlling the pace of the game with unflinching authority. She didn't play with flash for the sake of attention. She played with elegance, calculation, and an awareness of space that felt clairvoyant. Every pass she made felt intentional, every shot curated. There were no wasted movements, no forced plays, only a series of basketball decisions executed with artistic precision. Clark made it all look effortless, despite the Brazilian team throwing every possible defensive configuration her way. From full-court presses to switch-heavy schemes, nothing could disrupt her rhythm. And perhaps most importantly, Clark didn't need 40 minutes to leave a legacy. She needed less than the runtime of a sitcom to turn the court into a masterclass in high IQ basketball, where her misses were set-up plays and her assists doubled as highlights. The game moved at her pace, around her presence, and because of her command. It was an exercise in minimalist domination that left her critics silent and her fans euphoric. What stood out even more was how Clark's grace off the court matched her brilliance on it. After dismantling Brazil, she didn't strut off the court or disappear into the tunnel. She stayed behind, humble and smiling, signing jerseys, and taking photos with the same team that tried to stop her just minutes before. The juxtaposition of that post-game scene, where competitors morphed into fans, symbolized more than admiration. It was a rare acknowledgement from professionals that what they witnessed was singular, and Clark accepted their awe, not with superiority, but with poise. She didn't let the moment inflate her ego. Instead, she used it to reinforce the kind of leadership that transcends stats. Her authenticity in that moment, her willingness to stand among her so-called opponents and make them feel valued, further validated why she's becoming the face of the WNBA. That kind of grace is rare in sports, and it's why the world continues to gravitate toward her. While others may force narratives or demand recognition, Clark simply performs, and the world follows. In contrast, Angel Reese's presence continues to stir conversation, but for vastly different reasons. The same Brazilian squad that honored Clark with the kind of reverence reserved for legends gave Reese no such energy. Her game against them was forgettable. No autographs were requested. No selfies were taken. No players lingered post-game. The silence around her was deafening in comparison. Reese has cultivated an image of boldness and self-promotion, frequently taking to social media to assert her status in women's basketball. But the Brazilian game exposed a gap between self-perception and global reception. Respect in this league, as it turns out, is not something that can be willed into existence. It must be earned through moments that resonate. And while Reese may claim to be the moment, Clark is out here creating them with such regularity that they feel inevitable. That contrast became glaringly obvious when the same team that just played Reese treated Clark like a basketball deity. The optics couldn't have been clearer. The performance itself was cinematic. From deep threes that defied logic to laser-sharp assists that left defenders frozen, Clark didn't just play basketball, she curated an event. There was a logo three to close the third quarter that didn't feel like an act of showboating, but a well-timed crescendo in a game she had already choreographed. She pulled up from 36 feet like it was part of the script, and when it swished through the net, even the most seasoned viewers gasped. Her command of tempo, her court awareness, and her decision-making in transition were so precise, it seemed like she had Jeeps installed in her sneakers. Each action felt predictive, as if she had already seen the play unfold before it began. And the best part? She looked unbothered. While others on the floor labored and lunged, Clark moved with an elegance that made basketball look like poetry. This wasn't just a game, it was a declaration. The reactions from the crowd and the Brazilian bench only further confirmed Clark's aura. Fans erupted with every possession, treating even her missed shots as sacred events. The Brazilian players, once opponents, couldn't help but attempt their own Clark impressions during warm-ups, mimicking her signature shots like fans at a concert rehearsing a pop star's dance move. Post-game, they didn't just take pictures, they swarmed her. Phones out, voices trembling, eyes wide. These were not just athletes, they were admirers. They knew what they had witnessed, and they knew it was worth commemorating. They had been on the wrong side of a historic highlight, but instead of resentment, they felt privileged. That's the kind of respect that can't be bought or demanded. It's earned by altering the emotional state of everyone in the building. And Clark did it without even breaking a sweat. Despite the overwhelming praise, Clark remained composed. She deflected attention, credited her teammates, and emphasized the collective effort. Her post-game comments weren't laced with ego or false humility. They reflected a player who understands her role in the larger basketball ecosystem, a generational talent who still sees value in being a good teammate. That's the rarest combination in sports. Elite talent coupled with elite character. It's easy to dominate a stat sheet. It's far harder to do so while making everyone else around you better, both on the court and in the locker room. Clark doesn't just score, she elevates. She doesn't just pass, she connects. And that's why the world, including Brazil, can't get enough of her. While social media buzzed with takes and countertakes, the numbers told a different story. A plus 42 in under 19 minutes is unheard of at any level, especially against a national team, even if it's young or inexperienced. Every minute she was on the court, the Indiana Fever outscored Brazil by over 2 points, a level of dominance that is mathematical in its absurdity. This wasn't a player going off for one hot quarter. This was sustained, systematic control of a professional game. And it wasn't even close. Her passes were threading needles. Her rebounds sparked breaks. Her threes were so deep they might as well have come from Des Moines. That efficiency, that level of production in such a short span, is why people are now mentioning her in the same breath as generational NBA talents. And it's not just hype, it's data-backed, visually obvious, and now internationally acknowledged. The global implications of this game were undeniable. Brazil, a country with deep basketball roots and an even deeper cultural love for excellence in sport, effectively anointed Clark as their new favorite opponent. They weren't just beaten, they were captivated. Her ability to transcend borders and connect with athletes across languages and backgrounds speaks to something far more powerful than a stat line. It speaks to universal excellence. When players and coaches from other nations want your autograph more than your scouting report, you're not just good, you're unforgettable. And as Clark walked off that court, she wasn't just a player finishing an exhibition. She was a beacon of what women's basketball can be when skill, humility, and magnetism collide. All of this led to a simple but profound conclusion. Caitlin Clark isn't on the rise. She's already arrived. She doesn't need a campaign. She doesn't need to shout her greatness from rooftops or pen viral tweets. Her game speaks in universal dialects: grace, brilliance, respect. And it's being heard from Iowa to São Paulo. She didn't just win a game. She won hearts, headlines, and history books, all in under 20 minutes. That's what makes her not just a great player, but a defining one. Angel Reese may continue to claim her spot in the narrative, but Caitlin Clark has already authored the chapter. And now, the world is reading along.